my wife was a prosecutor for Cook County, south side of Chicago.
Oh, bring it.
And we had to do some detoxification. Now, this is like, I feel part of this is Chicagoans, but I think it's maybe just a lack of control. And we're being in construction. I generally color my language with some curse words from time to time.
Totally.
But my wife got home and was when we had young kids, and she was working with police officers and investigators and in the court every day with judges. There's a different vernacular down there.
Yeah.
And she would come home and I'm like, hey, I'm not sure you have to drop the F-bomb when I just said, what are we having for dinner?
Yes.
And she goes, I didn't. And I'm like, so I started recording her. So we together have come closer to this. We're better. But the idea that I'm not going to swear at all this year is an insane goal. Tell me about how that came up for you. And tell the story to the degree you can that drove that. I'm fascinated by it.
Oh, it's awesome now looking back on it. But in the moment I was like, oh my goodness. So those identity things like 0 to 100, I'm a south side of Chicagoan that's in construction. And that combo, like your wife, I used to use the F word like a placeholder. So like I'm thinking, I'm like out loud, I'm like effing, like it's just so natural.
Yes.
And so my wife would warn me like, you have to stop swearing around the house. Quinn, our daughter, is going to start picking this stuff up. And one day we were leaving a restaurant and I pulled out of the parking lot onto the frontage road of the highway and it shook and rattled the vehicle pretty hard. And out of the back seat, my then 4-year-old princess said, "Oh, what the f?" And I looked at my wife and she looked and we didn't react because, if you overreact, they're like, oh, that was a thing. Let's keep doing it.
Yes, let's double down on that.
Yeah, so we didn't do anything. The very next day, we were doing yard work in the front lawn. My wife was picking flowers out of the front and my daughter goes up to her and is like, "What are you doing? Why are you picking the flowers out?" And she's like, "Well, babe, they died." And she's like, "Oh, what the f?" So... okay, this is a thing, and she's using it at the appropriate time.
I was going to say, the good news is the context
spot on
is perfect. So that's the silver lining.
So defensively, we started throwing no more Christmas, birthday, you're grounded, tablet, like throwing the gauntlet at her. And because she's my daughter, she thought about that, reflected, and came back and said, "You know what? I'm going to stop saying what the f." And she learned how to get the permission slip sign to keep saying it. Like if you're ever at a kitchen table with my daughter and she says, "Hey, you know what I can't say?" Like buckle up because it's coming.